In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by a guest to discuss the increasingly unhinged comments from Trump as we approach Election Day. Here's Stephanie.
Here he is doing something that regular people do all the time, totally normal, throwing food at people behind a fence. He's on the never see your penis again diet.
Kamala is mentally impaired. Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way. She was born that way. And if you think about it, only a mentally disabled person could have allowed this to happen to our country. Anybody would know this.
What a lovely individual he is. And you'd think he'd be more sensitive considering he has two sons who are mentally impaired. But
you said the deluge of disinformation surrounding the hurricane response bodes really, really poorly for what we're about to contend with this November. Brian, I imagine for people like you that marinate in this is still shocking and exhausting just this weekend. That not only did he continue to lie about the hurricane stuff, he basically, issued threats. He said it's Democrats that are trying to assassinate me. If you're a Kamala Harris voter, you shouldn't identify yourself because you might get hurt. I mean, how much more out in front can he be about inciting violence?
And so this is what we see over and over, that the Overton window shifts, and what was outrageous one day, just by virtue of Donald Trump repeating it over and over, becomes more normalized, more normalized, more normalized. He knows that the media won't cover it as much because they're just used to it, right? They adapt to what he said, and so it becomes less sexy as a story, and they're just going to follow something else. And so this is really just a way of gaming the refs for him. And so he'll say this a few times until everybody kind of gets bored of covering it. But while they get bored of covering it, the reality is that all of his supporters are going to continue getting radicalized by it. And so he just continues planting these seeds over and over and over. He continues to radicalize his supporters. He gets the media off his back by virtue of saying it so much, because they're like, oh, well, he said it Monday and he said it Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, and so we're not going to cover it 7 times. We're just going to move on to something else. And so really he gets to have his cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying earlier, Brian, he's just a cancer, and he has infected his whole party, half the country. You retweeted Representative Anna Paulina Luna, which is definitely short for lunatic. Mm-hmm. She said, I have people that died in my county, and FEMA gave funding to illegals. No. They just parrot whatever lies he says. And by the way, you retweeted, these Republicans voted against FEMA relief before Helene battered their states. Anna Paulina Luna is one of them. Right?
I mean, it's the sad truth is that while these people, clearly the people who are doing this are looking to just help themselves politically, there are Republicans out there who are content to say the truth about what's happening. Some of these governors of these states, people who are actually on the ground, and the reality is that a lot of the people out there who need help, who just get their information from the Donald Trumps of the world, the Anna Paulina Lunas of the world, are going to see that. They're going to see these Republicans saying, oh, well, all the money went to migrant housing, and so there's none left because that's what Matt Gaetz told me. That's what Donald Trump told me. So why bother applying? And so there are going to be people who need the money, who are just so susceptible to this type of disinformation being spewed by those on the right who are only looking to help themselves politically, and they're not going to get the help they need. And Republicans have to know that, right? These officials have to know that, but it's just so important for them to continue on this bit because they want to help themselves politically in the next election, that no matter who they're screwing over right now, the people who need the most help, the most vulnerable in our society, the people who are just coming off of being battered from a hurricane, those are going to be the real victims, even on top of the fact that they were victims from the hurricane. But still, that won't stop these Republican officials, because they will stop at nothing to just help themselves politically however they can.
But we're at a point, Brian, where it doesn't even matter if Republican officials like Brian Kemp, and who's the Republican senator, we've had the Republican mayor.
Is it Tom Tillis?
Yeah, it doesn't even matter if they say no. Biden's doing a great job. We're getting everything we need. This has gone beyond cult. I mean, it doesn't even matter because they don't believe other Republicans even. They only believe Trump, right?
Well, this is the desperation that they're feeling now with 4 weeks to go until the election. They need something. They're trying to manufacture some October surprise to help them, because Donald Trump is now contending with this almost 200-page filing from Jack Smith, contending with bad polling from Kamala Harris, especially in the swing states, contending with a voter registration disadvantage, with all of these endorsements coming out from young people, Taylor Swift, and on, people who actually wield influence in society, which is not to say, by the way, that Kevin Sorbo and Scott Baio are not behemoths in cultural, in the cultural zeitgeist.
Giants of Hollywood, yes.
Something tells me that Taylor Swift is going to wield a tad bit more power.
A little bit.
Can I just say, Carol Burnett's daughter is chuckling warmly over here. Giants of Hollywood. Brian, the other thing I really appreciate you is calling out the media. Our, dearly beloved departed Eric Bowler did that so brilliantly. But, Frank Luntz tweeted, Eastern Tennessee Mayor Glenn Jacobs joins the list of local leaders urging people to stop spreading misinformation about FEMA and Hurricane Helene response. And you said, which people, Frank? I feel like that's an important element of this.
Yeah.
People are not spreading misinformation.
Yeah,
Trump and MAGA Republicans.
Exactly. That's the craziest part of all of this, is even when folks out there deign to acknowledge that disinformation is being spread, it's like it's happening in a vacuum. It's just these unnamed figures. We know who it is, Frank. It's Donald Trump. It's Matt Gaetz. It's Luna. It's all of these officials who, again, are just looking to wield disinformation to help themselves in the next election. And even when these people in the media more broadly have the opportunity to call them out and actually hold certain people to account, they opt not to, because it's just more important, I guess, to just pretend that it's these unnamed, unspecified figures out there, just in folks in their basements, right? Like these nebulous figures. We know who it is. It's the people with the biggest megaphones in society. It's Elon Musk, who's tweeting this stuff prolifically.